In this video, we are going to go through 5 different ways you can increase your testosterone naturally, and 2 that a lot of people think increases testosterone, but actually really doesn't. But before we get into that, I want to address something. Since this is a fitness channel, I know a lot of people are probably going to be clicking on this video thinking that increasing the testosterone naturally like this is something that is going to, drastically transform their physique or make it so much easier for them to build muscle. But that's just not the case. And I know this is not what you want to hear, and I could just lie to you and tell you that this is something that's going to, take you from having a average looking physique to looking like an absolute freak. And that would probably make this video a lot more popular, but then again, I would be lying to you, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be spreading, false information. And so let's talk about how you can actually increase your testosterone naturally and what it will do for you. And for those who are new here, my name is Alphonse. Here we talk about how to maximize your results from your training with as little time spent in the gym and with as little risk of injury as possible. So, first of all, what will it do for you? Increasing your testosterone naturally like this is going to make it easier for you to get to your genetic potential, and it's also going to have probably lots of other, mental and just overall well-being benefits. But here's the thing. If your testosterone is low, if it's below the normal range, getting it so it is within the normal range is probably going to make a more significant and noticeable difference. But if you're already within the normal range of testosterone, getting it, just a little bit higher is probably not going to make a, huge significant difference when it comes to your gains in the gym. And increasing your testosterone naturally like this is also not something that is going to let you get past your genetic potential of how much muscle you can build. The only way to do that is through taking performance enhancing drugs. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to do that, and I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't say there's any valid reason really for taking performance enhancing drugs when it comes to building muscle, unless you have the desire and the potential to be successful within professional bodybuilding. And if you are someone who does want to take steroids for the purpose of competing within professional bodybuilding, I do not recommend you do so until you have done everything that you can to get as close as possible to your natural genetic limit of how much muscle you can build. Because only when you have reached your natural genetic limit can you evaluate your muscular proportions and have a realistic idea of if you even have the potential to be successful within professional bodybuilding. And if you just don't have the potential, which most people do not, I would say that it's just really not worth doing it. But with that out the way, let's talk about how you actually can increase your testosterone naturally. Of course, you have the basic ones like sleep, for example, and I actually have a complete separate video on my channel where I talk about various ways you can, optimize your sleep, and I will link that in the description. But the most basic things you can do for your sleep is to go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day, including weekends, and to avoid, looking at artificial light close to bedtime. And then of course another basic one is diet. Just eat a well-balanced diet consisting of primarily whole foods from both animal and plant sources, and don't drastically reduce or cut out any specific food or macronutrients. Of course there are exceptions for certain medical conditions, and some people also get, autoimmune issues from eating certain foods. Some people are allergic to certain foods. One very extreme example would be someone like Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's wife. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but according to her, she can't eat anything except for beef, salt and water, because if she eats anything else, she'll just get, horrible flare-ups of depression and arthritis and eczema all over her body and stuff like that. Of course, most people are not like her, but if you feel better not eating, a certain specific food, then I recommend you just cut it out. Another one is to avoid sources of hormone disrupting chemicals. For example, avoiding stuff like storing food in plastic or heating things in plastic, especially avoiding heating things in plastic actually, or just putting hot food in anything that is made of or lined with plastic. Teflon pans is another one, synthetic fragrances is another one, synthetic clothes is also another one, or just having anything, synthetic in contact contact with your body. Now, of course, in the world that we live in today, it's almost impossible to avoid all of these things completely, but you can do what you can. Another one is having a healthy body fat percentage. If you are at an unhealthy body fat percentage, it is going to have a negative effect on your hormones. And if you're wondering what a healthy body fat percentage for men and women would be, for men it's generally something in between 10 and 20% body fat, and for women it's generally something in between 20 to 30. Now, of course, there are outliers. Some people can have lower and not have any problems, but in general this is the healthy range. And then of course it's the one that you've probably heard in every single how to boost testosterone naturally video ever, which is stress. Now, stress in itself is not a bad thing. If you feel stressed from time to time, if you feel very stressed sometimes, it's not a bad thing and it's nothing to stress out about. You don't need to get stressed over feeling stressed. But if you are chronically stressed, if you are very, very stressed for long periods of time without any breaks, then yes, that is going to have a negative impact on your testosterone, because if you are chronically stressed, it is going to chronically elevate your cortisol, and cortisol suppresses testosterone. But again, if you're just stressed from time to time, like we all are, it is nothing to worry about, and it is not going to have any effect on your testosterone. But anyways, let's move on to the next two, which are things that people generally think increases testosterone, but really they don't. Now, the last two are supplements and strength training. Let's start with supplements. Now, I can say this right away, and I think that most of us who are into fitness have already learned this, but 99% of, test boosting supplements are just complete BS, and, they don't work at all, pretty much. But then, of course, there are also some like ashwagandha, for example, which does show some promise. But the thing with ashwagandha is that when it comes to actually increasing testosterone, the studies where it actually does show that it increases testosterone, it really doesn't increase it by a whole lot. And the research just overall isn't solid enough yet for me to feel comfortable recommending it to you, and so I won't. You can experiment with it yourself if you want to, but I'm not going to be recommending any testosterone boosting supplements in this video. Now, the second one that I mentioned is strength training. Now, this might be one that might surprise some people. Now, the thing is that strength training does increase things like testosterone and growth hormone, but it only does this a little bit. And this increase is also acute, meaning that it shoots up really quickly after a strength training session, but then it also quickly goes back down again to what it was before. And this increase is not nearly enough to actually have an impact on the muscle growth process. And so strength training is not a way you can naturally increase your testosterone overall. Now, I could probably make a completely separate video on almost every single point now that I have mentioned, like I did on the one about sleep, but these are the things that are going to move the needle the most when it comes to naturally increasing your testosterone. And so I hoped you really liked this video, and if you found it even remotely useful, please don't forget to leave a like on this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, also don't forget to click that subscribe and ring that notification bell. And with that being said, I'll see you boys in the next one.